Have you ever felt your chest tighten so hard you thought your heart might crack? That's exactly how I felt the night. I finally realized Nathan had been lying to me again. I'm 29, and I'd spent almost 4 years forgiving him every time he forgot to call, every time he flirted behind my back, every time he promised he'd grow up. But this time was different. I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone when a message popped up from a woman. "I didn't know," she said. "I thought you should see this." Attached was a screenshot of Nathan on a dating app. His profile was still active, claiming he was single and ready for something real. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. It felt like grief and rage were pouring through every vein in my body. I wanted to scream. I wanted to sob, but mostly, I felt this cold, hollow sadness that wrapped around my heart. I remembered every time I'd given him another chance because I thought love meant forgiving over and over. I remembered all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep hoping he'd change. And at that moment, something in me finally snapped. No more excuses. No more hoping he'd be someone he never would be. I knew this was the final straw. My mind was a storm of emotions: betrayal, hurt, disgust, and strangely relief. I took a deep breath and told myself, "This time, you're not going to break. You're going to break free." I spent the entire night sitting up in bed, staring at the wall while my mind ran in circles. My heart still wanted to believe that Nathan, who I'd invested 4 years in, would walk through the door and fall to his knees with regret, that he'd say all the words I'd been desperate to hear, that deep down I knew better. I kept replaying his excuses in my head, the way he'd grin and tell me, "It was nothing. You're overreacting." The way he'd swear he loved me right after I caught him lying. My stomach twisted as I remembered how easily he'd convinced me to stay, to forgive, to hope. Around 3 a.m., I got up and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red and swollen, and I barely recognized the woman staring back. I felt anger bubbling up, but it wasn't just at him. It was at myself, for ignoring the red flags, for believing him when he said I was the only one, for giving so many chances to someone who never deserved them. By dawn, something had shifted in me. The sadness hadn't disappeared, but it was joined by a quiet determination I hadn't felt in years. I knew if I didn't stand up for myself now, I'd keep reliving the same heartbreak over and over. So I started packing a bag. Just the essentials: some clothes, my journal, the old photo of my mom that always made me feel strong. Every time I folded another shirt, I felt a little lighter, a little more in control. I sent Nathan a single text. "I'm done. Don't come looking for me. You lost the right to my heart." The first morning away from Nathan felt like stepping into an unfamiliar world. I checked into a small, tidy motel across town. The place smelled like fresh coffee and old pine. And for the first time in months, I woke up without a knot in my stomach. But as soon as I opened my eyes, reality sank in. The sadness came in waves: grief, regret, fear. I missed the good memories. The way Nathan used to kiss my forehead. The Sunday mornings we'd spend reading together. My chest ached thinking about how much of my life I'd shared with him. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching my mom's photo. She'd passed away when I was 19, but I could almost hear her voice reminding me I deserved respect, honesty, and peace. Later that day, I called my best friend Courtney. As soon as she picked up, her voice wrapped around me like a hug. I didn't need to explain everything she already knew. She came over with takeout and a stack of movies, determined to keep me company so I wouldn't feel alone. While we ate, I confessed how humiliated I felt, how afraid I was that maybe I'd made a mistake leaving. Courtney reached across the table and held my hand. "Carolyn," she said softly, "you didn't make a mistake. You finally chose yourself." Her words hit me like a truth I'd been avoiding. I started to believe that maybe this heartbreak wasn't an ending, it was an opening. A chance to remember who I was before Nathan's lies. That night, as I lay under the motel's scratchy blanket, a small ember of hope flickered in my chest. I knew it would take time to heal, but for the first time in a long while, I believed I could. 2 weeks after I left, Nathan showed up outside my work. It was a grey Tuesday, and I'd been feeling almost steady again. But when I walked out and saw him leaning against his car, all the old panic came flooding back. He looked thinner, tired. I noticed his wedding ring was off, like he thought that would somehow erase what he'd done. My stomach turned. "Carolyn, please," he started, his voice cracking. "Just hear me out." I didn't want to hear a single excuse, but part of me needed closure. So, against my better judgment, I agreed to talk in the parking lot. Nathan tried every angle: apologies, tears, promises. He said he'd been lost, that he'd realized I was the only person who ever really loved him. His words were soft and pleading, the same voice he'd used when he first said he loved me. For a moment, guilt tried to creep in. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe I should give him another chance. Then he said something that snapped me out of it completely. "You owe me this, Carolyn. After everything we've been through, you can't just walk away." I felt something click inside me, something final. All those years of forgiving, compromising, and swallowing my hurt so he wouldn't feel bad. All the times I put his happiness before my own. I straightened my shoulders and met his eyes. "No," I said calmly. "I don't owe you anything." The shock on his face almost made me feel sorry for him. But as I walked back toward the building, I felt something stronger than pity. Freedom. That was the day I stopped seeing Nathan as the center of my life. He was just a man who mistook my kindness for weakness. After that day in the parking lot, Nathan tried calling and texting nonstop. Each message swung between sorrow and blame. He loved me. He hated me. He needed me. It was all my fault. I muted my phone and left it face down. I didn't owe him any more of my peace. A week later, he sent me an email. He wrote that he was ready to fight for us, as if all the betrayal and hurt were just minor details. He said I was being cold, that I was proving everyone right, that I was heartless and impossible to please. Reading his words, I felt a surge of anger I hadn't let myself feel before. I had spent years cushioning his ego, hiding my disappointment, and shrinking so he could feel big. Now I was done. That weekend, I packed the last box of his things from my apartment. I folded the shirts I bought him, the picture frames from our trips, even the coffee mug he used every morning. When I taped the box shut, I felt like I was closing a chapter that had been draining the best parts of me. I dropped it off at his brother's place, so I wouldn't have to see him again. When I got back to my apartment, I sat on the floor and let myself cry. Not because I wanted him back, but because it hurt to admit how much I'd lost of myself in loving someone who never deserved it. Then, little by little, relief took over. I had finally drawn the line. No more bargaining with someone who saw my forgiveness as a given. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away and mean it. Thank you.